Right guys, St Erth to St Ives, stopping at Lelant. Let's go and check it out. I'll see you on the train. The St Erth to St Ives branch line is commonly known as the St Ives Bay Line, and is in my opinion the prettiest of all the Cornish branch lines on offer. Look at the station here at St Erth and how they've retained the original fittings and fixtures, both internally and externally. It's like walking into a piece of living history, isn't it? Now the setup here is very similar to Truro, albeit somewhat smaller. You have the London to Penzance mainline platforms on the right, 1 and 2, and the Bay, platform 3, to your left. Now clear signage indicates to the mainline passengers that this is the station to get off at if you're heading towards St Ives. So it was certainly pretty busy by the time our train arrived, another GWR class 150 by the way. But unlike on the maritime line in my previous video, which I'll link to here, the consist was twice as big, with two two-car units making up the 4 coaches required to get everybody on board and away. I found myself by the foldable seats again, but I did catch a great view of St Erth's signal box, which doesn't really look much like a signal box from the rear, I don't think. What about you? There are some great views through the trees of the Hale Estuary at this point. One of the few natural harbours on the north coast of southwest England, Google tells me. The Hale is actually the small port town just across the water here, and in order to utilise its proximity to the open seas, 2 artificial pools, Copperhouse and Carnsow, were constructed back in the 18th century to maintain access for shipping that served the local mining industry. The Hale Estuary itself is a triple SI, and the RSPB have a nature reserve here, as it's an important area for overwintering gulls, waders and wildfowl apparently. Now I was getting off here at Lelant, and no need to inform the guard as others were alighting on board at this point anyway. Now it was quite a narrow platform here, and with the house close by, it was almost like stepping into somebody else's back garden. Now I had a bit of a wander up the platform and watched the train depart. And there goes the train off to St Ives. Now I can see why Lelant is touted as one of the most idyllic request stops in the UK. It's fantastic here, isn't it? Quite a few people got on actually, so I don't think there'll be any problem flagging the train down when it next shows up. But in the meantime, I'm just going to chill out here for a bit, and why not? It's lovely, isn't it? So before anybody else comes, I will hang out and catch the next train to St Ives, hopefully. I'll catch you in a bit. Yeah, so there are no real facilities here, and not even a platform shelter. Now, I avoided using the help point after my experience at Durnish in Scotland, link here. There were a couple of posters, and outside in the very small car park, some information on train times and location, which completely passed me by. There's a great little public right away here, just across the track onto a small gravelly beach. I did think this would be a nice, quiet alternative beach to the more popular ones further down the line. However, as you'll find out in a bit, there's no substitute for the spectacular sounds of the north coast. It was very serene here though, and look how calm the water is, and I could just imagine paddling a canoe up and down on a day like this, slowly getting unwittingly sunburnt, you know, like the way people do every time that big yellow ball in the sky makes an appearance in the UK. what happens is the train doesn't always stop at Lelant on request, and consequently it doesn't stop to pick up passengers either. It's about one every other. So I'm here for the moment, just chilling out, and what I'm going to do, when that train goes back up to St Ives and then comes back down to Lelant, that's the one I can get on. And if I hail the train when it's coming back, if I hail the train when it comes back the next time it goes to St Ives, I can get a nice seat coming into St Erth, because there'll be loads of people there waiting to get on again, I would imagine. And then I can take some really good views going back out to St Ives if you follow all that. That's the plan anyway. I'll catch you again in a little while. Cheers for now. Yeah, so as you can see, services at Lelant are fairly infrequent, and I was to have a bit longer of a wait here than I'd anticipated. And now the observant amongst you will also notice another stop here, Lelant Saltings, and it's between Lelant and St Erth. Now this used to be the park and ride for St Ives, until a new facility opened at St Erth in 2019. Now, rather than incur the costs of formally closing the station, GWR provide a basic and inexpensive service, and in doing so they ensure that they comply with the Railway Regulation Act of 1844. Such services are commonly known as parliamentary trains, or ghost trains if you like. Now apparently this is no longer a legal requirement. If you have any more information on this, please let me know in the comments below. Anyway, a train did finally turn up after about an hour, and much to my delight there was nobody else on the platform, so I had the pleasure of making my intentions clear to the driver and begging it to stop basically, and that's exactly what it did. And now this train was very much quieter. I would imagine most people were still on the beach at this point. Note that when I was walking through the carriage, there was like a real mixture of seating. The single seats near the toilet, then you've got the lateral facing seats, then like a 2-3 configuration, and some more lateral seats after that, and then a 2-2 configuration right at the end. I got back to St Erth, and to my surprise there were very few people waiting to board. So I remained in my seat as we headed back out, ready to enjoy the beautiful scenery of this 4.5 mile branch line in its entirety. Now we'll pick it up again from Lelant, and please enjoy it with me on this, one of the most glorious days of the year. Opened in 1877 with the old Great Western 7-foot broad gauge track, the St Ives Bay Line is 6.84 kilometres long. Now it was converted to standard gauge in 1892, and whilst it's a vital link for the local community, it predominantly serves tourists in the summer months, hence the park and ride back in St Erth, which I think it's a great way of reducing traffic levels in St Ives itself, isn't it? There are no passing loops on this line. It only takes about 50 minutes to get from one end to the other, so unless you're using the request stops, you're never going to have to wait too long for a train. And talking of stops, there are a total of 5 stations on the line, if you include Lelant Saltings, which is just served by the one train a day in either direction. And the diesel multiple units will quite happily shuttle up and down the route all day at a very leisurely top speed of just 48 kilometres an hour. Now in the winter, train capacity is reduced to 1 2-car unit, but the line has been known to operate 6-car units at particularly busy times of the year. Anyway, we gradually arrived at St Ives Station with its car park and staff room shed, and I just about managed to squeeze past the marauding hordes, desperate to get onto the train, and I headed into town for a well-deserved ice cream. Well, that was pretty good, wasn't it? The branch line from St Erth up to St Ives. I'll tell you what, I filmed the whole journey, and certainly in the latter parts of it, it was like being on the Mediterranean coast. Of course, we don't always get the weather, do we, in this country, but some fantastic beaches. I hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching. I've got another one coming up soon as well, so if you like this, please tune in again. Until the next time, guys, cheers for now.
Like that.